Judge Thomas Quinones. Judge, it's a pleasure to have you. It's a pleasure to have you. It's a pleasure to talk about your campaign. But the people of Yonkers, they want to know, why should I vote again for Thomas Quinones?
Thank you, Rue. I appreciate the opportunity you've given me to be interviewed on your show. I know we've had many conversations throughout the many years. Um, well, the obvious things you can tell is I'm Hispanic. Quinones is Hispanic, and I was the first Hispanic judge appointed and then elected to be in this position for the city of Yonkers, and that makes me so proud. And I know I give full credit to the mayor for having the courage and the forethought to address the makeup of Yonkers, that it should be representative of the community. And he gave me that opportunity to be appointed, and then I ran on my own, and the good citizens of the city of Yonkers voted me in. And this year I'm completing my 6th year. And I don't want to lead with being Hispanic, and you shouldn't vote for me because I'm Hispanic, but you should vote for me because I'm qualified. And I have a proven track record of providing justice to the citizens of Yonkers in whatever capacity the cases come in front of me. In the Yonkers City Court, we handle many, many cases, pretty much all the legal things that happen in Yonkers. The bulk of the work that we do in Yonkers is criminal, 60, 70% of the work that we do. But we also do landlord and tenant work. We do civil work, people suing each other up to $15,000. Small claims cases where people sue each other, typically without lawyers, up to $5,000. Traffic court. Everybody knows about the traffic court, and we resolve them there. And pretty much we don't try to hurt anybody. We try to make sure that you obey the rules of the road. And that's soup to nuts. What the quality of life things that make it better or worse to live in Yonkers, we attempt to address them, and hopefully we have an impact on the community and making sure that all the citizens are safe and all the citizens are treated fairly and appropriately. So, the rest of the struggle that I have is to provide justice.
Well, Judge, it's good that we have a judge that is actually a reflection of the community. But nevertheless, we want a judge that is capable of doing the job that he was elected for.
Absolutely.
And you are.
Thank you.
You were appointed, then you were elected, and here we are again for another election. And you know, Judge, these elections are coming faster and faster. Okay, years ago, 4 years, 6 years would look to me like an eternity. Now it's a blink of an eye, and we are there again.
I think it might be a question of our maturity also. As we mature, time seems to go by a little more quickly, and we realize how fleeting time is and how much things that we need to do to make sure that we're all okay and that we satisfy ourselves as human beings. And you mentioned a moment ago the qualities of a judge. What are the qualities of a judge that we should all look for? And never mind just me, but everyone. Temperament, that they respect the litigants before them, and they make decisions appropriately, that they make decisions quickly, that they're knowledgeable of the law, that they have, as an attorney, a full range of experience to handle the matters that come before them, so they understand them, not just only in the books or just understanding the law, but understand how it affects people's lives, etc. And also having some life experience to bring that to the bench, because I don't divorce myself from the human being or the man that I am or the father or the husband that I am. I'm those things all the time, and I can't leave them behind. I bring them to the table with me in every decision that I make. So my decisions are tempered with my humanity and my life experience, and that's exactly what you want from me as a judge, but from any judge. Those are the qualities that you should be examining.
Now, Judge, I had an interview earlier this morning, and I told this person, look, the people of Yonkers understand that the job of a judge, elected official, is not an easy one. And people are not asking a judge, look, rule in my favor or rule in that favor. All that we want is a judge that is fair and balanced. Do you have those qualities, sir?
That's exactly what the qualities that we look for in any judge, and I believe I possess those qualities. And funny you mentioned that. I was getting gas right here on Palisade and Elm, and getting by going gas, and he goes, "Hey, Judge." A man goes back, "Hey, Judge, how are you?" And I go, "Okay." And I go, "You know me?" He goes, "Oh yeah, we had a case together." And I go, "How did I do?" I was asking how I did, and he goes, "You did good. It was a criminal matter." And he goes, "I'm never going to go back to your court ever again. I'm engaged. I have a great job." And he goes, "I'm never going to come back and see you again." He said, "That's exactly what I want from you. That's what I want to hear, that we put people back on the right path, and that I affected that person positively in his life." arguably, I guess the people who aren't happy with my decisions, they don't stop and talk to me in the street. But this person I know qualitatively has a better life because he had an interaction with me and the Yonkers City Court.
But sir, I speak with many people in Yonkers about everything. Judicial system, fairness, balance, how people interact with the others. I have never encountered a person that called the judge or police officer a bad one because they did not rule in their favor. Sometimes they're not happy because the judge might be unfair to them, not necessarily because your opinion went against what I was presenting, but as long as you're fair and square and balanced.
That's all anyone can ask from any judge. And I don't get commentary from the people who are unhappy with my decision, but I've had people who I've sent to jail and say, that was the right thing to do in my case, and I understand what happened. What I did was wrong, and I have to pay for it. Now the question is, what happens to that person afterwards? Will they keep doing what got them in trouble in the first place, or will they be rehabilitated? Hopefully, the impact, because I always speak with the defendants who are before me in the criminal matters, and I try to make some impact, and especially young people, because I feel like there's more room in their lives to make change if they want to. Older defendants, I may be wasting my words on them, but younger ones, if they heed my advice and warnings with regard to being in the system, hopefully that makes some effect, and I believe it has. And I've had people thank me. Even people who've gone to jail, they've thanked me for that. I'm sure not all of them do, but
Well, I would thank you, because if you send me to jail, but I come out as a better person, now I'm on a path of success, in a path of living a better life, more quality of life. I would thank you for that interjection, because of you, it might be bad at the moment, but because of that.
no, I appreciate your words, and that's very true. And again, I have no illusions that I have 100% success or even a high rate of success. I'm happy if 10% of the people heed my words and stay out of trouble or lead a better life or take something positive from the experience they've had before me in a criminal matter or in a civil matter or whatever matter. Because I'm one of the designated integrated domestic violence judges in Yonkers, so I deal with, in those jobs, I'm an acting family court judge. And as an acting family court judge, I have a lot more tools in my tool belt to help people. And as a criminal court judge, the only tool I have in my tool belt is a hammer. And if you're responsible, you get punished. As a family court judge, if you get in some kind of trouble, we can apply various therapies and remedies to try to help them. Drug counseling, employment counseling, domestic violence counseling, parenting training, things that might have got them into problems that may not necessarily rise to the criminal level or that they should be punished. We find a way for them. And ultimately, on those family court cases, we never give up on anybody. We attempt to work with them. And ultimately, with the adults, if we give up on them and we can't do anything with them, we turn to the children to make sure that they don't repeat the mistakes that their parents have made. And that's what the job of a family court judge, and as I do as an acting family court judge. In those cases, there's a corresponding criminal court case and a family court case that gets sent to the criminal court to have one judge resolve all of the family's issues that may be impacting them with regard to the criminal justice system and the family court system.
Now, Judge, I'm old enough to understand that we cannot keep everybody happy all the time. And there is lots of people that are not very happy with the judicial systems as it stands. Okay, they believe that the judicial system it's very unfair to some. There is lots of people that are talking about the bail reform. I know, as a sitting judge, you are not allowed to speak about certain things. But in general terms, how do you feel about bail reform, sir?
Well, I feel a bunch of different ways about it. And again, with regard to giving a legal opinion with regard to that or commenting with regard to what the legislature has done, that's not my place to do. The judge's job is to enforce the laws as they've been written. If you're unhappy with the laws as a citizen or a judge, you can hopefully speak to your politicians with regard to the laws that they've enacted. But nonetheless, we deal with the consequences. And I'm exactly where the rubber meets the road with regard to these cases, because in the past, some crimes that may have been committed would have been eligible for bail, and it might have kept some people. And now there's some cases that I can't set bail on. And ultimately, we don't want to punish people in advance of them being found responsible or guilty for their crimes. And that's the concern we have. And the concern also is that you shouldn't be in jail because you couldn't make bail. Otherwise, in other words, that you can't be too poor if you're poor, you don't have money, and then you automatically go to jail, automatically in advance of your being found responsible or guilty for whatever infractions are. So there's a tension between those two things, and also balancing that against the community's public safety, the safety of the community at hand. So we find ourselves in a difficult position. My job is to enforce the laws as they've been written and how they're done, but it could be done a little more fairly and appropriately. And with regard to law is always evolving and changing. Hopefully, this is a growing pain and will arrive at a better place in the future.
Well, I asked this question, Judge, because I feel that it's important to educate and inform the people. Because lots of people, they make up their mind or formulate opinions based on what they think is the truth, what they think is the law. But the reality is sometimes that's not the case. You as a judge are restrained to a certain things that you can or cannot do.
Agreed.
Correct?
Agreed.
So if we don't agree with bail reform, judges are not the place to go, our legislators are. Am I correct on that one?
You're absolutely correct. But understand, as I mentioned a moment ago, I don't divorce myself from being a human being. And I understand that the decisions of the court and the system affect people's lives on their everyday sense if they're involved in the criminal justice system. And I've used the word justice a few times. And sometimes what is lawful is not necessarily arrive at what is justice. And the job of a good judge is to arrive at justice, interpreting the law and arriving and applying it to this particular case. I'm not a machine, and the system is not a machine. We should be able to address people on an individual basis and address them. If you committed a crime and ultimately you're responsible, you deserve punishment for that. That's how we've decided to resolve our differences as a society. But with regard to handling these things in advance, there should be some considerations given to folks who have not been proven guilty by beyond all reasonable doubt, which is the criminal standard. So I have to be cognizant of that and take that into the balance with regard to making my decisions and how they affect people.
Now, Judge, every election, the people of Yonkers, or whatever place they are, they have to come to a decision. Who am I going to cast my vote to? And sometimes the regular person on the street does not understand complexity of things. They vote based, do I like him or her as a person? Do I feel like I can relate to that person as a person? Do I feel like he understands the problem? People vote more based on the person than actually on the complexity of issues. If I'm thinking about voting and I'm not decided yet on who should I vote for, what would you tell me that would make me think Judge Thomas Quinones is the man?
Well, speaking for myself, as I mentioned earlier, I have experience. I've been a judge in Yonkers for 6 years. Prior to that, I was a magistrate in New York County, working in the family court for 20 years. I've been doing hearings for 26 years or so. And I have experience of how to handle a case, how to manage a case, and how to take it to its completion and resolution at the end. I have an education that's taken me to the position where I am. I believe I have the intelligence to absorb all these new materials and materials that come along and apply the law fairly and equally, regardless of race, creed, color, any of those things. Those are invisible to me. And also, with regard to, I am among the first judges to be more reflective of the citizens of the city of Yonkers. Right now, I've put myself forward to become a judge in the Supreme Court, which is a judge not just for Yonkers, but not just for the county of Westchester, but the county of Westchester, Rockland, Orange, Dutchess, and Putnam. And if I'm so fortunate to be elected to the Supreme Court, I'll be the first Hispanic judge elected from Westchester to serve on the Supreme Court. That makes me very proud, but it also makes the Supreme Court more reflective of the community that we are in. As Hispanics they're one of the populations who've grown since the last election, warranting additional increased population, warranting 2 additional judges. When we started the season, there were 3 spots available, and in the census taken into consideration, now we have 5 positions. And now there's 2 judges from Westchester running, myself and Judge Christy D'Alessio, a candidate from Putnam County, James Heyer, candidate from Dutchess County, Thomas Davis, and a candidate for Supreme Court who was already a Supreme Court Justice, Bob Berliner, out of Rockland County. And these 5 judges represent the slate that we've put together. And hopefully this is the slate with the experience and who will be able to serve the community in an appropriate and fair and balanced manner.
Now, Judge, let's rewind the tape for a few years and let's go back to your teenage years, like 20 years ago. A little more, right?
Very kind, but no, a little more than 20 years ago.
When, at what point in your life you decided law is the way that I want to go and being a judge is something that I would like to be?
Well, that's an interesting question. I didn't set out to want to be a judge, but growing up in very modest circumstances, I was born in Manhattan and raised in the Bronx by a single mother. My mother raised my brother and myself in the Bronx for so many years, and we were poor. There's no better way to put it, that poor. But we didn't know that we were poor because my mother took care of us so well, and all our needs were met, and we were happy. So leading from that, we realized as I matured, I realized that some things are not fair and other things are not fair. So it naturally attracted to me to the question of fairness. What is fairness? What does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? So I've built my life with regard to attempting what is fair. And in my mind, being a lawyer was the highest level of being able to understand how our society works and also be able to I didn't have a family at the time, but I knew in the future that I would have a family, be able to support myself and also maintain and have a family and children. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, but I knew that these things were in store for me in the future. And once I became a lawyer, I was more sensitized to the issues with regard to race and ethnicity, with regard to how I fit in there, because I was among very few lawyers who are Hispanic in New York. And I always helped those behind me to foster them and to encourage them to come into the practice as well. And then I became to gather the experience, and I said, you know what? I know as much as these judges. I think I could put myself for a judge. And the secret of being a judge is judges don't know everything. And I can tell you right now, I don't know everything. But the skill is being able to learn it quickly. And if you don't know it, to educate yourself or allow the lawyers to educate you. And I've been skillful with regard to that. And I've taken all the help that I've gotten from the lawyers who've appeared before me and the research I've done and the people who've helped me, because you don't do the job by yourself. You have a variety of assistants and court attorneys who help you with regard to making sure that you interpreted the law correctly, and also to bounce things off of to see whether or not it is. And then, as I mentioned earlier, that arrives where the struggle is. What's lawful, what's correct under the law, but is it also fair? And my balance is, I don't always achieve it, but my balance is to arrive at justice. I want to make sure that it feels right, and that it is within the law, but it feels right, that it seems like justice. And that's been my struggle my entire career.
So, Judge, would it be fair for me to say that you were born with a silver spoon, even though there was no silver spoon, but there was a strong education principle from your mom that made you feel?
My mother, who I got blessed, I'm still blessed to have her with me, set that foundation with regard to that. Because typically, and I don't recall this easy, but I'm the kind of parent, like she describes, is you go to the store as a 5-year-old child and pick something up and walk out with it. Because people don't watch children for the most part. My mother was one of those mothers who would grab me by the hand and march me back and put it right down there. And I was the same kind of parent with my daughters as well, and my daughters and my son. And that's a sense of what's right and what's wrong. Sometimes the situations of morality, what's right and wrong, are well instilled in us. And my mother put that in me, and I carry that with me to this day. And hopefully I pass it on to my children as well. And hopefully a measure of that comes through with regard to me being a judge in my practice as I decide my cases.
So, moral of the story, if you work hard, if you have a strong foundation, you can be anyone, anything that you wish, and
Absolutely.
you are living proof
Absolutely.
of it.
No, this is the beauty of this country. The beauty of this country, that anyone can do anything if you put your mind to it and invest time and effort. I always comment that my mother's investment in me has paid off, certainly in my life, but certainly my children have benefited from from generations. So the benefit of that, there was a question as to whether or not I would graduate from high school. I'm the first person to graduate from high school in my entire family, never mind being a college graduate or a law school graduate. And the difference is, for the generation that I produced, of course they're going to go to college. That was never a question they would go to college. And ultimately to give them the best tools to be able to take care and support themselves, and also be able to understand the world around us, the world that we live in.
So, guys, today you learn a little bit, not just about Thomas Quinones, the judge, but Thomas Quinones, the man. So, Thomas Quinones, the judge and the man, went through the same struggles that many of us go. So he understands the things. He understands the issue. Will he always rule in your favor? No, but he will always rule based on the law and fairness. Is that the
Absolutely. That's the job.
that's the job?
You ask that from me or any judge that you appear in front of. And the litigants always come before me, and usually they thank me. Even if they lost, they thank me because I was able to explain to them exactly how they were right or how they were wrong.
So, Judge, to conclude this interview, please tell those that are watching us why you need their support, to win the elections coming up in November 2nd, and also why it's important to vote, because lots of us talk about it. We talk about the issues. When time comes to vote, to make that decision, why am I voting for? Nothing is going to change. Every vote counts, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And that's the malaise that is in our system, that everyone doesn't participate. Our government is designed for us to participate in it. This is our franchise. This is our right that we have as citizens of this country to exercise our vote and express our preferences. And the majority wins. Whoever gets one more vote than the other candidate prevails and wins the position that they're looking for. I know that judges are not a glamorous race, and no one pays attention to the judicial races. But I think if you were a little more educated with regard to understanding how important judges are in each of our lives as to how they affect us directly, we'd be more concerned about voting for judges than voting for other politicians that we have. And certainly, with regard to president or any other high elected office, that's certainly important and affects us all as a country. But judges affect you directly in your community and affect you in exactly what it is that it's important to us directly. And judges, a president serves for 4 years. A judge in the Yonkers City Court serves for 10 years. A judge in Supreme Court serves for 14 years. So it's an important consideration to give, and to whom you put that trust in, to place them in a position of authority who will be making decisions over a long-term period that will affect all of our lives. So with regard to, as far as I'm concerned, judge races are probably the most important races because they affect us directly more than any other race. And for all the things I've said earlier, I think I'm very qualified and I'm worthy of your consideration.
Judge, 14 years, it's a long time if you run. But I am going to make a promise to those that are watching. If you do win, I want to be here 14 years from now, even though I'll be 80-some. But I want to be right here interviewing you and say, Judge, 14 years ago.
As I retire, right?
Exactly. Well, guys, as always, Yonkers Voice does not endorse or oppose any candidate. We endorse the community. We endorse the people of Yonkers. And our only goal is to inform you, to let you know who is who, where do they stand, what the platform they're running on, so you can make an informed and educated decision on who deserves your vote. Thank you for watching. Until next time. And again, God bless you. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Until next time, guys.